Who's this man? Right, there we are, at Jersey Airways Limited, the golden days. You fly here with a biplane. Those are the days, and lo and behold, what on earth has happened today? But it's one of those strange meetings with an old aviator who landed here yesterday or today. What on earth are you doing here now, Maurice?
Well, excuse the key, but my sister gave me the key to the front door, I think. It might look as though I've just been let out for a few hours from the asylum, and this is my little cell.
You say that with a joke because, of course, asylum has been threatened for you for the past few years.
Well, I have just been released from Her Majesty's prisons, Swansea. Swansea is a little place way out on the west side of Wales, and I first went to prison for a breach of a restraining order to do with me having a conviction for harassment of a doctor. Not just a doctor, but the chief police psychiatrist.
Persistently, how many years have you been on this latest? You've had Bristol prison, Cardiff prison,
I have been locked up for 16 months. 16
months. So people will ask, what is this from your point of view? Wasn't there a stage where you could have just said, look, I've had enough of this, I'm going to walk away from all this, I'm not going to cause you any more bother? Yeah. Why do you keep going on?
Because I know I'm right. And more to the point, which is really the right way to have answered it, I represent so many people now. And I now have got involved with the family courts, and that's a whole new ball game. I've been fighting in the criminal courts and helping people, because when we have a judiciary, you see, in Wales...
Let me interrupt you again, because I said to you before we started here, I went to the Supreme Court in London, and I was so impressed with the quality of the judges, the quality of the lawyers. Now that's the system you have a belief in. You want that to happen, where you've got competent judges, they see the merits of the case, they give people a fair hearing, you've got lawyers who argue their case, but you're not getting that, are you? For some reason, you're not getting it.
I'm not quite as naive as I used to be. Remember, the law is only as good as the integrity of those entrusted to administer it. And you saw, not wishing to appear flippant, the frilly knickered brigade. I can assure you now, and this is something I would not have said 5 years ago, that if they are politically orientated and persuaded, I no longer have faith in the Supreme Court and Privy Council. Remember, I visited the Supreme Court of the Channel Islands more times than anybody you will ever meet, because I was a veterinary surgeon in Guernsey, and therefore the Privy Council was my ultimate redress. Getting back to your thing, there are people in prison who shouldn't be there. I mean, the place is full of. I mean, the actual penal system. I mean, if I had my way, I would divide it into Dickensian and the holiday camp that it is. To me, it wasn't a holiday camp, because I'm a man of substance. Can I use the word substance? Not quite the right word I meant. I have a bit of property. I have an education to try and maintain my sanity, and so on. But the majority of people in the prisons, I mean, I don't wish to appear flippant, but it could be an example of the human detritus washed down from the Welsh valleys.
I mean, you're literally talking about people who cannot read or write.
Yes,
that's quite normal.
They come from such an unfortunate background that a big chunk of them we must have sympathy for. We really must try and help them. But the other half are preying on them, and the other half who are wicked, wicked people who should be locked away and prey on you and me. You know, law-abiding gentlemen of this, you know. But the system itself is in serious trouble. And I blame the lawyers more than anything. Because you see, when in England, if you get arrested for drink drive, dangerous driving, robbing a bank, whatever, the first thing you do is you go into a police cell. And they say, do you want a lawyer? That's when the rot sets in. In the office they have a list of magic lawyers. Only the ones that are on the make, and they share the money. So if you think you're getting bail that night, what we call police bail, it depends on who the sergeant was. I can talk Masonic, I can talk anything else in that direction, which seriously affects all this. But generally speaking, it's a luck of the draw. And I go there and they say, do you want a lawyer? And they get a chunk of money, it's a set figure, to pay for a waif and stray who's been locked up for 1 visit to the cells and 2 visits to a courtroom. After that, it's usually then re-allotted money-wise from the state's coffers, right? Legal aid. And I've seen it time and time again. Now, I was doing an awful lot of court cases for people, and I was doing it for political reasons, and, you know, a bit of my Christian sort of belief that they just need some help. But I was horrified at the way some of the lawyers were telling them to plead guilty for something they were clearly had a nice legal fight for, and the ones that got me really annoyed were saying, plead not guilty, when they were obviously had a smoking gun, the blood was on the carpet, and you know, they were obviously guilty. But the lawyers wanted to run it right on to the trial, which is about 6 months, for all their mates to make money. And they're not accountable.